Hi friends, welcome back to the studio. I'm Beatriz. For today's video, we're gonna be talking about one of the most unknown paints, Neutral Tint. One of my favorites because of all the mixes that I can do out of these two. I did another video where we find out about the Schmincke brand, which is a warm tone of neutral tints. And today we're gonna tackle the cold version of the Daniel Smith brand, having some surprising results actually. Stay till the end where I have a surprise for you and let me know what you think. In this video we're going to be talking about Neutral Tint by Daniel Smith. The Daniel Smith Neutral Tint is a cool linen color. One of the less understood colors, especially for beginners. This color looks like a dark black or as a dull gray. And although it can be painted by itself, can be used by itself, their magic lays when we blend neutral tint with other colors. But if you unlock the magic of the blending of the other colors, this humble neutral tint will transform your palette. Most importantly, it will help you avoid one of the biggest mistakes the beginners do when they start painting in watercolors, which it is avoid muddy or dull shadows. So join me in this video as we transform our palette by using Neutral Tint from Daniel Smith. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Neutral Tint again. This is one of the most mysterious and misunderstood colors that there are in the market. One of the ones that is less used, especially by beginners. And I've been using Neutral Tint by the Schmincke company for a long time. I had changed the way that I paint and watercolor. But recently, I came upon the Daniel Smith brand. To be honest, I bought the Daniel Smith because I found it when they were running a sale. And my idea was that once I was done with the Schmincke one, then this one will substitute these two. To my surprise, they are two completely different colors. This is more of a warm neutral tint, while this is a cooler neutral tint. Now, this is a gorgeous color by itself that I'm planning to add to my palette instead of substituting this other one. I will keep both. So we're gonna start by painting a swatch of neutral tint on its own. First, I'm wetting it so that the paint will spread smoothly, and I can do like a gradient from dark to light. We can use it just like this, which is a lovely color, especially you can go very dark, almost like a black, and it will be great to do use it for shadows, underpainting, etc. Once again, this is a lovely color by itself. It can give us a lot of power from dark to light and everything in between, but we're gonna find out in this video how this magic pigment does when we use it to mix with other colors. I'm asked on my in-person classes all the time, because different brands, we've realized that with the same name, it can be two different colors. So you need to look at the pigmentation. And in artist watercolor tubes, they always have to put what pigment they are made of. For example, my neutral tint, it doesn't matter what brand. This one is Hansa Yellow Light, and see, it's like pigment yellow 3. So all of them, you just look and see where, but they had to add where the pigments are. Here is pigment red 101. So make a point, if you like these things, to look at it, that they are here. Now, this pigmentation and this pigment from Neutral Tint by Schmincke are completely different. What I did is, because I'm a little bit nerdy when it comes to that, I found out what brands have the same pigments as and which ones are different. I'm gonna write it down over here, but by any of the three brands, like Winston & Newton, Holbein, or Daniel Smith, you are pretty sure that you're gonna get the same colors. If you get the Neutral Tint by Schmincke, it's a warmer color, so it'll be a different one. And there's also another brand of colors named M-Gram. I don't own Neutral Tint by M-Gram, but the M-Gram brand is neither like this neither is like this. It will be interesting to see how it looks like, but the pigmentation is completely different. Of all the brands, the M brand is the only one who doesn't have a block into the mix. So, like I say, it will be interesting. But since neutral tint superpower it lays into how it transforms other colors, making them moodier, richer, especially if you want to make darker variations of them without killing the hue, without killing the vibrancy. We're going to mix today this neutral tint by Daniel Smith with 3 of our primary colors: Ultramarine Blue by QR, Magenta instead of a red by Schmincke, our Hansa Yellow Light also by Cure, and then I'm going to use a Burnt Sienna by Winsor & Newton and a Sap Green by Daniel Smith. We're going to mix these 5 colors with this, and you will be amazed at all the different combinations that we can make out of this. So what we're going to do is I'm going to lay the color by itself. In this case, I'm going to start with French Ultramarine. Then we will do the mix of French Ultramarine with the neutral tint, and we're going to paint it next to it. This is one of my favorite, one of the most used blues in the palette is French Ultramarine. Beautiful, bright color. It granulates some, especially, I mean, you can granulate it more or less, especially if you move it around, and you will get more granulation. Beautiful, beautiful blue to make shadows, grays, especially when it's mixed with Burnt Sienna, and a wonderful color to mix with reds, and then you can get the most beautiful purples, magentas, pinks, etc. So this is French Ultramarine. I'm going to go a little bit darker so we can see the range from darker to lighter. This is French Ultramarine by itself. Let's go ahead and mix it now with neutral tint. French Ultramarine is considered a warm blue within the blues, and we're gonna see what happens when we mix this warm blue. This is my French Ultramarine with a cold neutral tint, in this case the one by Daniel Smith. This is Daniel Smith Neutral Tint, about half of neutral tint and half of a 50-50 mix of the French Ultramarine. Let's see what happens. Oh wow, look at this. This blue reminds me so much of this one blue that they sell is in the throne. It's a gorgeous blue, but hey, why spend the money into getting that extra tube when you can mix it yourself? Let's see what happens if we add more blue to this mix. See, it's brighter. But between this color and this one, the French Ultramarine by itself, you can tell that it has been muted. It's still gorgeous. This will make beautiful, beautiful shades, especially in architectural buildings in a sunny day. That will make a wonderful, wonderful shades. So will be with this one. Let's see what happens if we make thicker, less water, more concentrated pigment of these two. Whoa, look at this. This is such a gorgeous, oh, I lost my finger there. This is a gorgeous blue. Wow, it's almost, I don't know, maybe kind of like an indigo, but for sure very deep. Most blues are hard to get it very deep. I have seen many professional artists mix several. Let's just do a good gradient here. They mix several blues in order to get enough coverage. But with these two, with the French Ultramarine and the neutral tint, you can go full strength right away by itself without having to do an extra mix of a color. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Look at this. 1 tube French Ultramarine, 1 tube neutral tint by Daniel Smith. A big variety of blues already. Let's move on now with our other primary color. I mean, this is not a true primary color. That will be a red, and this is a magenta. But this magenta color, I love it, especially to paint flowers. They will give you some of the brightest most gorgeous petals. And it's just very, very, very good to make mixes also with the blue. And then you can get gorgeous violets. Now the one that I'm using here is by Schmincke, and I'm showing you here how you can get darker to lighter. But let's see what happens when we mix this one with Daniel Smith Neutral Tint. So look at this. Isn't this a gorgeous, almost like a lilac color? This darkened version of this will work perfectly if, let's just add a little bit more magenta, see what happens to this mix. It will work perfect as a shadow for a petal that you work with the magenta alone. You could go darker, or like I'm doing here with more of the magenta color, a little bit lighter. Oh, I love this. This is almost like between violets and lilacs. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous color. Now let's just go again more full strength, like meaning less water and more paint. Whoa, look at this. Beautiful. Oh my goodness, I really, it's almost like a plum color. I'm loving this. I don't even think I have a tube of paint with this color. And if you look carefully, most importantly, all these colors are conserving their luminosity and the transparency. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous plum color. So I'm doing the gradient, but look at this. Look at these beautiful, beautiful plum kind of colors. From the darker one, and we can go even darker, to all these things in between. Like I said, I don't even own a paint tube that it can do this. This is a beautiful, nice surprise, nice discovery for me. I definitely will be using this color on my paintings. And to finish our triad of primary colors, of course, we need a yellow. This is my Hansa Yellow Light, which it is considered a neutral yellow. By that, I mean a primary yellow too, if you will. It's a yellow that makes wonderful with blues, creating gorgeous greens, but it also makes really good with reds, creating orange. Okay, let's try it with a neutral tint, Daniel Smith Neutral Tint. We're gonna start with the lighter part, meaning that it has more yellow, the neutral tint. Whoa, look at this. It reminds me, it is leaning on the green side. It reminds me of a rolling color, which it is a yellow with a hint of green. Let's just see what happens when we add more neutral tint to it, kind of like in a 50-50. Ooh, it's definitely going into the green. Wow, look at that. Still, it's more like it's a subtle, maybe going on the olive green, but not quite. I don't know, it's hard to explain. But it's for sure gorgeous. This will make very pretty shadows. Once again, for objects, they are green. Let's see what happens. They are yellow. Yeah, this is an olive green. Gorgeous, muted. Notice how all the transparency and luminosity of the color is there. Usually with green, with yellows, it's very, very easy to put it muddy right away. So this is for sure a nice way to make this. It's kind of like obviously leaning on the green, but kind of like a neutral too. I like it. I love it. And now we're gonna try Sap Green. I don't own a lot of greens because I like to, for the most part, I like to mix my greens. But I like Sap Green because it's kind of, to me, it's kind of like a green that is in the middle. By that I mean it's not too dark or not too light, and I can add in blues or other colors I have mixed with burnt sienna is also beautiful. It can give me a big range of color. Now, sap green is not a color, in my personal opinion. It's not a color that you find in nature. It's too bright or too. It's a tone on it that you don't find them in leaves or trees or things like that. But it is a gorgeous color, don't get me wrong, and one that it can be easily turned, like I said, by adding blues and or other colors to it into beautiful tones of greens. So let's see what happens if I use it with the Daniel Smith Neutral Tint. So once again, I'm gonna start with the lighter tone. Ooh, see, already it looks more natural between this and this. It's about the same strength. Both of them are, if I was putting this into black and white, both of them will read about the same strength. But this one already a little bit more muted. It's already looking like more natural. Let's see what happens if we add more like the 50-50. Ooh, I really, really like this. Look at this. I will not call it quite an olive green. It's not an olive green, but it is a gorgeous muted color. This is a color that you will find in nature. Oh wow, look at this. This lovely color. This reminds me a little bit like the undersea green, which is another color that I own. But the undersea green obviously has a little bit of black in their mix. This one is reading to me like if it is more vibrant, more translucent. Wow, I really, really like this for a darker green. I am a fan, and I'm telling you, once the undersea green that is in my palette gets used, I think that I will not buy another tube, and I will just stick to this mix. I love it. Okay, and now we're gonna try burnt sienna. Burnt sienna is one of those, it is in the brown side, but it's one of those colors that you can, it's very versatile. Now, this is a gorgeous colors by itself. The one that I'm using is by, this is burnt sienna, and is by Winsor & Newton. It is a brown that it leans a little bit on the orange, and if you add reds, then you can get gorgeous like terracottas and burgundies, and if you get you mix it with blues, then you can get gorgeous neutrals, grays and the light. I had to tell you, I don't own a brown other than in my painting, other than burnt sienna. Look at this. Already it's giving me a gorgeous browns. I mix all my browns, and I've been mixing for years my browns with using the neutral tint and the burnt sienna. This actually is a color, maybe slightly darker, but not by much, of what other brands burnt siennas look like, which is completely different from the other one. But anyway, gorgeous, beautiful brown. As you can see, with a lot of luminosity. That's one of the things that I love about mixing my own browns, is because it has transparency and luminosity. So this is like about 75% burnt sienna and about a quarter of the neutral tint. Let's see what happens when we do 50-50. With the 50-50 mix, look, I'm getting deeper. This will be a wonderful brown for shadows. It reminds me of the burnt umber and the raw umber. If I was adding a little bit more, I could totally use this mix instead of those two tubes of paint. And then, you know, again, another less expense and clutter in your palette when you can mix your own. Let's see what happens if we make it a little bit darker. By that I mean bring in a slightly more neutral tint. Look, still you have all the luminosity. One of the reasons why I don't like to buy browns is because I find that they are in a lot of the tubes they add a hint of black, and then when they dry, let's see how this one dries though. They dry a little bit dull. So let's just see what happens once these ones are dry. All right, now finally let's do the darker one, more neutral tint. Oh, look at this. More neutral tint, and then burnt sienna. Wow, look at this. This is the more neutral tint, the Daniel Smith Neutral Tint, and like the other way, maybe a quarter of burnt sienna. I like it. It's a wonderful dark, for sure, color. Let's see what happens if we go with the using the color more concentrated instead of diluted. Let's see. Still looks gorgeous. One thing that I noticed different from this neutral tint, this cool neutral tint instead of the warmer one like Schmincke, is that when I go like this, when I went to this mix and the other one, I was able to get more like a chocolate brown. This one is slightly different. It's still beautiful, and still you can use it for many paintings. Obviously, very natural looking brown, but not quite as chocolate. So, but let's see how it dries too. So if you own a tube of neutral tint, please start using it for mixing your colors. And if you don't, go to the store and get yourself one. This is our cool, this has been the experiment today with our cool neutral tint by Daniel Smith. Like I said, Daniel Smith, Winsor & Newton, Holbein, they all use the same mixes, so they all should look the same. It will be kind of like this, a cool neutral tint, which, by the way, it's also a gorgeous color by itself. And now that we did this, let me get the ones that we did before in my other video, which I'm going to link here. The ones that we did using the Schmincke Neutral Tint, which it is a warmer type of neutral tint. Look at this, a little bit different. Let's put it side by side like this. As you can see, they were the same colors. We used the same French Ultramarine, Magenta, blah, blah, blah. But the mixes, if you will, are slightly different. Kind of like in the same family, but it's a subtle differences. I don't know if it will, if I will go and buy the same, another tube, unless you want to. Let me see how these greens are. It's a subtle difference, especially in the greens, where you can see these are a little perhaps more brilliant. This is a little bit more muted. It was the same thing for the these ones with the magenta. These are a little bit more muted, and these are a little bit more plummy. No, these ones, I'm telling you, they are different, but I like these. Although I like these as well, so I don't know. It will be a hard pick for me. Here and you can tell the difference more of both. This is that was the Schmincke Neutral Tint, and this is the Daniel Smith Neutral Tint. So both of them gorgeous. I don't know that I could pick one over the other. If you own one, no need to go and get both. At least you have them like I do right now. So lucky me, I can use both. But for sure, if you don't own a tube neutral tint, I will strongly advise you to go to the store and get yourself one of them. Very surprising, I hope I convinced you to go to the store and buy a tube of neutral tint. Now, if you already have one, do you have to go and get two? No, unless it's something that you really like for a special project. But one tube of neutral tint should be in your palette, regardless of which one it is. If you like what you see, I will appreciate a subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.